Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, My So-Called Healthy Life. Okay, today we're gonna do something completely different on this channel. We're not gonna talk about weight loss, we're not gonna talk about dieting. We're gonna continue to do those things, but we're just not gonna talk about it on here today. So, I have a daily vlog of which I vlog every day, now until I don't know when. So it's listed below, please go follow it. It's called Peter Vlogs, and I have a lot of fun on it, and I just talk and show my life. So anyway, if you watch the vlog already, one thing that you'll know is that in around April, Alex, my husband, and I entered marriage counseling because if our marriage was at like a 70%, we wanted to get it to like a 90 or 100%, if that makes sense. And it has been so helpful and so amazing in teaching us like new ways to be intimate with each other, not just physical intimacy, which is what we think about, but intellectual intimacy, spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy, recreational intimacy, all kinds of different, there's like 10 or 12 different kinds of intimacy that we've been working on. Reading this book called Hold Me Tighter by Sue Johnson. And then we've also been like learning new ways to communicate with each other, new ways to be considerate of each other, and to keep the passion alive that we had in our first few months dating, which I think is something that a lot of times is really hard with relationships and marriage. But we've wanted that so badly so that 30 years down the road, we're still that couple that looks across the table at each other if we're out to dinner like it's our first date, and we really want that. So what's happened is every other week we go as a couple together, but in between we see our counselor individually, and I cannot sing his praises enough. I love him. And I was thinking a lot about what I wanted to do as far as going forward in counseling. Because I felt like I've done a lot, but like as a person in recovery and also as a person that's been to counselors before, I feel like I've done a lot of like internal work on like resentments, grief, anger, things like that from the past, and I don't necessarily feel like I need to pick that stuff apart, if that makes sense. So the last couple days I've been really thinking about what I wanted to do if I was going to pursue individual counseling, because I love him, but I don't want to continue to have to pay, which I think is an issue for a lot of people, if they're not getting what they need, if that makes sense. And it's not that I wasn't getting what I needed, it's that I didn't really know what I needed. And I was driving around last night and I was thinking about, I'm coming up on 10 years since my mother passed away. And if that will be next May. And if you looked at my life, the 5 or 10 years before my mom passed away, I was very happy to some degree. I had moments of despair in and out of relationships. I was in some difficult relationships. I didn't love my job all the time, but most of the time I loved it. I traveled. On the outside looking in, I had a pretty happy life. But I always yearned or wanted for more. Like I had all these ideas of things I wanted to do, ways that I wanted to live my life, dreams I wanted to achieve, and yet opportunity never met desire, so to speak. When my mom passed away, I had this moment in the hospital room with her before they came and took her away. They let me alone in there for a little bit. And I've shared this on my vlog. I don't know if I've shared it on here. But I had this moment because my mother very much believed in kind of the saying that we're just a bag of soul. And so I had no physical connection with her once she was gone. And I had this moment where I very much thought about like the Charlotte's Web quote, you know, that the cycle of life is we're born, we live, we die. And I thought, we're born, we live, we die, and what we put in the middle of it is ours. And what do I want my song to be? What do I want my life to sing of? And going forward, I really thought about that consciously. I really thought like, every moment, every opportunity that is given to me, take risks, you know, explore life, go on adventures, have fun, do things that you never thought you would do, because at that point, it was okay for me to live in the safety of my own home. But I didn't even know that I could find safety outside of my home because I wasn't willing to take those risks, if that makes sense. Risks like get on camera and start a YouTube channel, or risks like writing a book because I didn't want to deal with rejection. I didn't want to deal with people saying things about me on YouTube channel, or traveling to places by myself, or going out to dinner by myself, or trying different kinds of books because what would people say? I had all these fears associated with it, right? So flash forward 10 years and my life looks very different than it did then. And my life is full of passion. My life is full of creativity. I feel like I'm going through this episodic change in my life where I'm kind of ending one phase of my life, not the first phase, but maybe the fourth phase. One phase of my life that was very much committed to me being in the service industry and, you know, like working with people one-on-one and doing these life coaching, team building things that I do. And I think I'm going into more creative pursuits. I think that the rest of my life will be devoted to writing, both memoirs, because I'm working on a book right now about lessons I learned from my mother called On Borrowed Time, because I talk a lot about my mom on my vlog, as well as 2 fiction books. And I think that that will be majority of my time. I would love to grow my YouTube channels. I mentioned the other day on my vlog that I'm gonna start a podcast in January. I didn't really know, I knew I wanted to do this, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was sitting around and it just came to me that I wanna do something that's very much like Garrison Keillor's Lake Wobegon days, but mixed with my vlogs and lessons that I tell that I've learned. So like the last 10 minutes would be, you know, a story about a lesson that I've learned in life, or something to do with like my recovery or my mother or my father or whatever, friends, relationships. And then I would like take, you know, people calling in and it'd be funny at parts. And there would be even like a fictional part that would be like story written with characters that would have different voices. And so it would be very much like a variety show, because if I was going to do it, I wanted to pay homage to the old radio shows and Garrison Keillor, like Wobegon days. And I didn't want it to just be another podcast, which I love podcasts, but I wanted it to be something different. And so I went into my counselor's office today and I explained all this to him. And, you know, he was talking to me about how there's a part of me that's really anchored in the past, because I'm afraid of letting go of those things. Because if I do, then it's like letting go of my mom and letting go of the memories and letting go of the past. And I said, I think I'm ready to let go of that, you know? I don't want to ever forget the past. I will always like respect it in my life and remember it, but I'm ready to step into my next world. And he got so excited. He got the smile on his face. He goes, this is exactly what I want to do when I work with clients. And so we kind of brainstormed a little bit, and I said, well, next time that I come in, I want to come up with a plan for what I want like the next 5 or 10 years of my life to look like. And I wanted to share this with you guys because it's a very exciting moment. And I sit on here and I talk a lot about achieving your dreams and taking risks, and you can do whatever you want to do and you can do anything that's possible. But at the same time, you have to kind of walk into the unknown a little bit. You know, you have to be scared and you have to be willing to make some changes. One of my favorite things in the entire world now is going to music festivals with my husband, electronic dance music festivals, specifically Ultra Music Festival in Florida. When we first went, it was something he really, really wanted to do. And I said, I'm terrified. There's gonna be drugs, there's gonna be drinking. I don't know if I can handle it, blah, blah, blah. I'm old. And he goes, okay, but I'm gonna wanna go. So I'm either gonna go alone. And I was like, okay, I'll go with you. Pick one and I'll go with you. And he picked Ultra. And it changed my life. And there were people there that were 20, 30 years older than me. I mean, I'm being serious. There were people that were a lot older than me, and there were people that were a lot younger than me, and the drugs really weren't that bad, and I loved the music, and it's now one of my favorite things. And I find that a lot in life, that when I walk into the dark and I walk into my fear, that I actually find some things, one of 2 things either happens. Either the fear is eliminated, and it's not that scary anymore, or I find that that thing that I was afraid of ends up becoming something that I love. And that's what I want the rest of my life to be about. I want it to be about taking risks and falling in love with fear to some extent, and wrapping my my arms around fear and embracing it and saying, I'm not gonna be afraid anymore. Life is short. We're born, we live, we die, and what we put in the middle of it is ours. And I'm ready to step forward. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I want to inspire you guys that feel stuck a lot to maybe watch this video now, come back and watch it if you feel stuck, and say, I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to have the best life I can possibly have. Totally. And he said to me today, he goes, where would you rate your life today? And I said, if I was being completely honest, and I have a totally amazing life, I love my life, okay? But I would put it at a 40 or a 50, because I think there's so much more. There's all kinds of travel and adventure and people that I haven't met yet, and all kinds of things I haven't done, and books I haven't read, and foods I haven't tried. There's so much more that I could try, right? So if I was being really honest, I would be at about a 40 or 50. And he goes, what do you want it to be? And I said, 100. Who wouldn't want it to be 100? I love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.